Never told, Esther's shocking courage at midnight, a dark divine destiny revealed. In the dead of night, when shadows dance and secrets whisper, the clock struck 12, and Esther discovered her true strength. The air felt electric, every heartbeat echoed with a wild, frantic thrum that seemed to vibrate with urgency. It was midnight when the ordinary cracked wide open, revealing the extraordinary. The wind howled like a wounded beast, and the moon hung low, casting a ghostly light on the turbulent river below. Esther stood at the edge, her heart racing like a drum in her chest, the sound hammering in her ears. Just last week, she was an ordinary girl, wrestling with the mundane, but the events of tonight would plunge her into a dark, twisted fate she never could have imagined. Suddenly, a chilling scream shattered the dark. It was a sound sharp enough to slice through the thick blanket of night. Esther's instinct kicked in, a primal urge to discover the source. As she crept closer to the riverbank, shadows twisted around her, forming unnatural shapes that seemed to reach out, begging for her attention. She could feel the tightness in her throat, the lump of fear threatening to choke her. Who was calling out in despair? What unspeakable terror had invaded her peaceful town? Then, just as she leaned further into the dark, a figure emerged from the depths of the swirling shadows. It was a woman, soaked and shivering, her eyes wide with panic. She pointed toward the water as if it held the secrets of the universe. Esther's mind raced, questions bubbling up like the frantic waves lapping at her feet. She could feel the icy grasp of fate tightening, pulling her into a world where choices teetered on the edge of destruction. "Help," the woman breathed, her voice a fragile whisper against the roar of the river. Esther's body responded before her mind could catch up. "Before we continue, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Stay back." Esther shouted, a wild energy surging through her. She felt a rush of heat against the cold dread around her. This was no ordinary midnight adventure, it was a call to something far larger than herself, a destiny that had been waiting in the shadows. But just as she was about to dive into the chaos of the night, a massive wave surged forth, crashing against the bank and spraying water onto her skin. The woman's face twisted in horror, and a deafening silence hung in the air. Esther's heart pounded, each beat beating out the same question: could she truly be the one to face whatever evil lurked in these waters? The spellbinding mix of fear and courage propelled her forward. What awaited her in the depths of night was both thrilling and terrifying, almost as if destiny itself was holding its breath. Was she ready to unveil the secrets of her unexpected journey? As the moon shone brightly overhead, waiting for her answer as much as the woman did, Esther took a single, trembling step closer to the unknown. Esther's breath quickened as she stood toe-to-toe with the abyss, her heart a frantic drumbeat pounding against her chest. The river roared, its dark waters swirling as if it held the very gates of hell. The woman, shivering and gaunt, was still pointing, urging her to look deeper. It was then that Esther noticed the glimmer beneath the surface, flickers of light that disturbed the water like angry spirits trapped within. "Please." The woman's voice cracked, snapping Esther out of her trance. "You have to help me. It's not just a rescue, it's worse. You don't understand." "Worse?" Esther echoed, instinctively taking a step back. What could be worse than drowning? The night felt heavier, the shadows stretching further, curling around her like hungry tendrils. "There are things in there," the woman continued, her eyes wide and trembling. "Things that want to keep me and take you too." Esther's chest tightened. What kind of madness was this? But every instinct in her screamed to believe. Trust the whisper in the night, she thought, as if an ancient part of her knew more than she could fathom. She glanced back at the river, its currents relentless, taunting her bravery. "What do you mean, things?" She managed, her voice barely more than a breath. Suddenly, a low, guttural growl emanated from the water, sending a wave of icy fear surging through Esther's spine. The woman gasped, her face paling. "The keeper," she whispered, horrified. "He is awake." In that moment, something shifted in the air, a palpable tension thick enough to grasp. The moonlight wavered as if the very fabric of night was trembling under the weight of an unspeakable truth. The surface of the water bubbled violently, and Esther stumbled back, the jagged stones beneath her feet cutting into her. "Get away from the edge!" the woman shrieked, as the river convulsed and swelled. Esther's heart raced, every ounce of her body screamed at her to flee. But a strange force pulled her, a promise of answers lurking just beneath dark and enticing. "Why did you come here?" the woman asked urgently, clutching Esther's arm. "You're in danger." Esther jerked her arm free. "I'm not afraid," she shot back. But the truth hung between them like a heavy fog. Fear coiled in her gut, squeezing tighter with each suspenseful wave crashing nearby. As if answering a silent call, the river surged higher. Dread filled the air, stifling. It was time to decide, plunge into the darkness and uncover whatever lay ahead, or turn and run, leaving behind a world of secrets crying to be revealed. Her voice trembled as she asked, "What is the keeper?" At the question, the water erupted. A massive shape broke through the surface, illuminated by the moonlight, scales glistening like polished diamonds, eyes like burning coals. Esther stood frozen, her heart in her throat, the world spinning as terror wrapped its icy fingers around her. The keeper had come, and he was hungry. Now, caught between life and a terrible fate, Esther had one choice left. Did she have the courage to face this creature? Would the power she felt inside be enough to confront the abyss? As the eerie stillness settled once more, a chilling question remained: was this the end of her ordinary life, or the beginning of something far darker? The river roared louder, and the keeper's eyes drilled into Esther like hot coals. She could feel the heat radiating from them, the weight of unspoken promises and lurking threats coiling around her. The woman beside her shrank back, her gaze transfixed on the creature's monstrous form, the fear written plainly on her face. "Run!" the woman finally screamed, her voice piercing through the thick tension. But instead of running, Esther found herself stepping forward, drawn to the keeper's glowing eyes, to the mystery that lay just beneath the swirling surface. Esther, her own name slipped from her lips like a prayer, an invocation she didn't fully understand. The throbbing in her chest quickened as a flood of emotion surged through her, curiosity layered beneath fear, almost intoxicating in its urgency. "What do you want?" she shouted over the river's roar, the question hanging in the air. A low rumble echoed from the depths, and subtly, the surface tensions of the water shifted. It was a tilt of power, a mischievous dance that hinted at madness beneath. The keeper lunged forward, the water cascading off its magnificent scales, revealing a creature of nightmares yet breathtakingly beautiful. There was something ancient in the way it moved, a wisdom that transcended time and space, a history written in the narratives of countless lost souls. "Foolish girl," the keeper's voice rolled like thunder, reverberating in her bones. "You think you can understand? You think there is a choice?" Esther staggered. The keeper's words struck her as more than mere intimidation, they were an invitation wrapped in fear. All at once, the river calmed, its ferocity replaced by a haunting stillness. "Esther," the woman beside her whispered, barely able to contain her trembling. "The keeper doesn't give choices. He demands." The edges of Esther's mind sharpened, she was drowning in a sea of possibilities, but one question surged like a relentless tide: what was it that he demanded? "Tell me," she demanded, her voice emerging strong despite the tremor in her limbs. The weight of the moment pressed heavily, as if time had slipped from its moorings. The keeper leaned closer, his gaze penetrating. "What you seek is not of this world, child. The secrets you uncover will bind you to me, and the world you know will be forgotten." "What secrets?" she pressed, desperation clinging to her words. "What do I have to lose?" The creature let out a low, rumbling laugh, deep and shadowy. Everything. In that heartbeat, Esther felt the ground beneath her tremble, a vibration coursing through her veins. Images flashed in her mind, of life before this moment, of people she loved, the sun shining on their faces, laughter echoing through wide fields. Suddenly, she felt a whirlpool of emotions, everything tethering back to her fear, hope, love, loss. It all pulsed and surged, blurring her sight. What will it take? Esther shouted defiantly, pushing past the gnawing fear. Your will, the keeper said simply, its eyes glistening in the dark. Your soul could weave the fabric of another realm. Are you ready to become something greater, or will you drown like so many before you? Esther stood at the precipice, her heart hammering in her chest. The air crackled with a tension that could snap like a twig underfoot. She was teetering on the brink of a decision that could unravel everything she believed herself to be. As the shadows from the abyss whispered promises of power, another thought cut through: was her quest for truth and knowledge worth the price? The night stretched on, the stars hidden behind crawling clouds, and as anticipation filled the air, Esther took a step forward. What awaited her beneath the surface might shatter her soul or ignite her destiny. Would she dive deeper, or would she find a way to escape the keeper's grasp? The night darkened, and the river's pulse quickened, ready to reveal its dark secrets. As her foot broke the boundary, the sensation nearly knocked the breath from Esther's lungs. The air was heavy with longing and fear, but beneath it all, there was a current of exhilaration that tugged at her very being. A triumph over doubt coursed through her as light flared from the keeper's eyes. Wise enough to step into the unknown, he purred, his voice wrapping around her like a shroud. But your courage is only the first of the tests. With those words, the river began to swirl, the water twisting into shapes that seemed to dance with life. Figures emerged from the depths, half-formed apparitions that flickered like dying stars. Each shape bore a face, a fragment of memory Esther didn't recognize but felt deep within her core, the faces of those who had once stood where she was now, driven by a need for knowledge, for understanding. Do you see? The keeper's voice resounded, rich and mocking. These lost souls were once seekers like you. Esther's heart raced. Their gazes were pleading, echoing a question in the void: had they made the same choice? Were they trapped eternally in the keeper's grasp? Suddenly, dread wormed its way into her mind. No, she breathed. I want to become one of them. Would you rather die? The keeper challenged, his eyes flaring with tempestuous light. This realm, it does not welcome weakness. Choose wisely. The warding off of danger ignited a deeper fire within Esther. Alas, she could feel the pulse of something profound and restless within her. I want the truth, she declared. No matter the cost. A thunderous laughter erupted from the depths of the river, the echoes sending shivers through her spine. You presume too much, the keeper roared. Truth is not a shining beacon, it is darkness inked in blood and sorrow. As if summoned by his words, the river surged higher, dark waves crashing around her. Esther felt its icy grip, her heart racing. She could see glimpses of her own reflection, a distorted version of herself, afraid and guilty. She gripped her arms, trying to steady her racing pulse, but the keeper was relentless. Your path diverges here, he hissed, and as he spoke, the figures in the water morphed into shadows woven with despair. Embrace the abyss, or choose to swim back, forfeiting what you hold precious. Esther glanced back. The woman who had begged her to flee was now nearly swallowed by the shadows, her pleas muffled by the water's roar. No! Esther cried, her heart torn between the fear for her own life and the dread of witnessing another lost to this darkness. Your spirit thrums with potential, but it will sever ties with your precious past, the keeper intoned gravely. What do you value more, that which holds your heart hostage, or the power lurking within you? With a fierce determination, Esther looked back at the flailing figure. I can't abandon her. As if in response, the river began rising, surging with energy, the keeper's face twisted in intrigue. You think you can save another without destroying your own chance at greatness? Every nerve screamed at her to step back. She felt the weight of the night pressing down. It would be so easy to flee, to turn away and keep her sanity intact, but something in her demanded rebellion. "I'll choose recklessness," she shouted defiantly, taking another step closer. "I would rather drown trying to save someone than live in silence." The river roared in response, a cacophony of powers swirling closer, the keeper's expression shifting, intrigued yet vengeful. "Then let it begin," he hissed, and in that one moment, the world drew tight around her as the shadows lunged forward. Light and dark clashed violently, and Esther felt herself pulled deeper, thrust into a tempest that would either be her salvation or her undoing. What she didn't know was how the fates would intertwine before dawn broke over that cursed river. What force awaited her in the depths might restore not just her destiny but reshape the boundaries of life and death forever. Esther plunged into the darkness, water swirling violently around her as the shadows reached out like grasping hands. Fear clawed at her throat, but she fought against it. The warmth of her determination mingled with the cold abyss, igniting a flicker of hope deep within. "Hold on!" she screamed, her voice drowning in the chaos. It felt futile, like yelling into a roaring wind, yet she refused to drown in despair. The figure of the woman, a reflection of her past, hovered at the edge of her thoughts, a lifeline urging her forward. "Please, don't let go." The plea came out as a whisper even against the tumultuous waves. She felt the weight of the keeper's gaze pressing down on her from above, a predator waiting for her downfall. With desperate strokes, she fought through the frigid water, straining against the temperature sapping her strength. Thoughts of the woman fed her. Well, what could she have lost? What regrets would tether her to this fate? Esther's pulse raced as she pictured the faces of those who had once loved that figure, a world just beyond her reach. The swirling darkness encircled her like a cage, but it was there beneath despair that shadows began to shift, coalescing into familiar shapes. Whispers clawed at her ears, too soft to decipher yet too loud to ignore. Memories? Dreams? Esther, came a voice, low and resonant, silencing the chaos for a heartbeat. It wasn't he, the keeper. The tone was gentle, sorrowful. "You seek what we all long for, show me," she cried. "I refuse to be lost." Each word was a strike against the suffocating dread. She thrust her fists against the current, legs kicking with renewed power, driven by the spectral voice urging her on. Corners of the abyss unfolded, revealing fleeting visions, a child laughing at her side, an old man's kind smile, a sunlit garden where worries melted away. Her breath caught as the warmth of each cherished memory flowed through her, igniting the embers of her resolve. "Hold on to the light," the voice urged, stronger now, giving her strength. "It is your shield against the darkness." Esther focused, willing herself to believe in the warmth of those images. She felt the grip of the abyss loosening around her. Glimpses of laughter echoed louder than the howling winds, mingling with the shadows, battling against the keeper's oppressive laughter. It was a magical dance of hope and sorrow. But the keeper was not finished. "You think you can save her?" he bellowed, his voice vibrating through the water, shaking her very soul. "You're not nearly powerful enough." Then came a surge, a wave of despair rolling toward her, dark and foreboding. Esther's heart sank. The figures in the dark began to shift again, morphing into grotesque faces, twisted and snarling, embodying her fears. "No!" she yelled, feeling the pressure build within, raw power surging through her veins. "I want to let you take me." With a potent burst, she extended her arms, feeling the familiar warmth transforming into vibrant energy as she faced the shadows head-on, emboldened by the memory of those she loved. The darkness recoiled as light erupted from her core, dazzling and violent. A blinding brilliance that confused the keeper, pushing against him. "Impossible!" he shrieked, terror flickering across his face. Esther felt the hot pulse of her spirit overpower the shadows, illuminating everything with piercing clarity. But that clarity came with a price. She could feel the tenuous balance shift, the very fabric of the realm around her writhing. There was no turning back now. That as she swirled through the portal of light, it felt like a birth, raw and painful, but promising. Would she emerge transformed, or would she succumb to the darkness lurking beneath? What awaited her beyond the light? With destiny unresolved, she took the plunge into the unknown and everything unraveled. In the realm of shadows, choices awaited, ones that could alter the very course of her soul. What price would she pay to unveil the truth? Light swallowed her whole. It was a dizzying whirlwind, the kind that disorients and leaves one grasping for reality. She fell through endless brightness, the sensation of weightlessness ethereal, almost surreal. Panic ignited as she felt herself being stretched apart, yet something deep within urged her to let go. Then, silence. Esther landed softly, a sharp contrast to the chaos that had consumed her moments before. She blinked against the sunlit brilliance that flooded her senses, the familiar warmth wrapping her in an embrace she thought she would never feel again. As her eyes adjusted, she found herself on solid ground, a meadow, vibrant and alive with colors that sparkled under the sun. At first, it felt like a dream. Flowers swayed gently in a soft breeze, bees buzzed around, and birds trilled melodically in the trees. But a knot tightened in her chest, a reminder that if this was her escape, it could very well be an illusion crafted by the keeper himself. Esther. That gentle voice echoed once more, resonating through the tranquility. She spun around, and there at the edge of the meadow stood a figure draped in flowing white, a woman, luminous and full of grace. You've broken free, but not without consequence. Who are you? Esther gasped, stepping closer. Is this real? Am I dreaming? The woman's smile was warm, yet her eyes held an unspoken sorrow. I am someone who has walked this path before you. A guardian of the light. You've reached the threshold, dear one, but the shadows will not let you go so easily. Esther's heart raced. What do you mean? The keeper, he was powerful. I felt it. I don't know if I can. You can, the woman interrupted, her voice steady like a calm sea. You are more powerful than you know. But you must confront the darkness within you. It is not merely an external threat but something you carry. Choices made, regrets held tight, these will challenge your spirit. I don't want to be lost again, Esther whispered, feeling the weight of her past threaten to pull her under once more. Then you must face the keeper, not just outside, but within, the woman said gently. Choose to embrace your truth, your regrets. They hold the key to your freedom. Allow the light to transform your pain. It's time to remember. At her words, the meadow wavered like a mirage, reality shifting in and out of focus. Shadows crept into the corners, tendrils of darkness clawing at the edges of her vision. Panic surged again, inching toward her as the sun dimmed, replaced by swirling gray clouds. No! She shouted, trembling as the shadows squeezed tighter around her. I won't let them take me. Esther clenched her fists, giving herself over to the flickers of light within her, those remnants of laughter, warmth, love, and heartache. They swelled wildly, and suddenly the woman stood beside her, squeezing her hand tightly. Feel it. Let it guide you. The shadows writhed, morphing back into the haunting faces she had once drowned beneath. The grotesque images twisted into familiar shapes, each grief she'd buried, the love she'd lost. Her throat tightened, and tears spilled over. I remember, she said, voice cracking. Be brave, the guardian urged. Embrace it all. Esther closed her eyes, taking a deep breath, letting the memories wash over her. Every failure, every regret. It was a flood, but with each acknowledgement came a flicker of light within her heart. Suddenly, the keeper appeared, a dark silhouette breaking through the storm. His voice echoed, dripping with malice. You think light can conquer darkness? You are nothing without your fear. Watch me, she whispered, no longer filled with dread but with a fierce determination. The shadows recoiled as she unleashed the light inside, charging forward. In that charged moment, a visceral realization struck. What would it cost her to confront everything she had buried? What would it truly mean to embrace her light? As the keeper lunged, darkness meeting brilliance in an explosive clash, a question loomed larger than ever: was freedom worth facing her worst fears? Esther braced herself, knowing The answers lay just within reach if she dared to touch the truth. The clash sent shockwaves rippling through the meadow, as brilliant light met ominous darkness. Esther felt the initial fire of her power surge, electrifying her veins, but almost instantly, doubt struck hard. The keeper's laughter cut through the air like ice. "Foolish girl!" he hissed, twisting his form into a vortex of shadows that clawed at Esther's light. "You think a mere flicker can extinguish me?" Esther pushed forward, a shield of golden strength wrapping around her. Each beat of her heart drummed a challenge back at him. "You're wrong. I am not just a flicker." As their powers collided, sensations flooded her mind, visions of family, friends, laughter shared, and tears shed. Those moments were not just memories, they were her strength. They were her essence, yet the shadows clawed desperately, forcing images of her deepest regrets to the forefront. She stiffened, wading through an ocean of guilt: a father she had abandoned, a lover lost to time, friendships she let slip away. The keeper manipulated the shadows to seize her by those very memories, wrapping her in their cold embrace. "No. I won't be defined by my past," she shouted, desperation igniting her determination. But the whispers of her past wafted through the air like taunting specters. "You're not enough. You will always be haunted." Panic bubbled inside, boiling over into a mission of pure light that pulsed from her core. "I am enough. I choose to remember my love." A radiant burst erupted from her, pushing back the darkness. But the keeper countered, his eyes glinting with malice as shadows consumed the light once again, inch by inch. "Embrace the truth of your failure. Like me, you're bound to your regrets," he roared, his voice echoing as if the entire world shook. Esther felt the burn of truth as it seared through her, forcing her to grapple with the harsh reality she had hidden. The cost of her silence, of her avoidance, it was painfully clear. The shadows molded around her, and panic spiked. "Remember. Your failures do not define you. They are lessened steps toward your power." The guardian's voice rang true, cutting through the chaos. The shadows contorted, twisting away as if their grip weakened. Esther grasped that moment, that flicker of hope, and unleashed her spirit further. "I embrace my regrets. They are mine." Suddenly, each tiny source of light within her sparked anew, each memory, every pain transformed. Rather than embarrassment, she felt acceptance; instead of sorrow, she found strength. The keeper stumbled, the shadows around him wavering. "No. You cannot escape," he shrieked, but the raw force of her acceptance surged through the air, purging the darkness. It blasted outward, sending shockwaves that lit the meadow in hues of gold and silver. Esther opened her eyes and saw the keeper falter. "This is my light," she yelled, feeling the release of burdens, secrets, and fears all raining down like ash in the whirlwind. With the final clash, she felt that weight lift. But just as everything seemed to settle, the ground beneath her trembled. A fissure opened in the earth, dark and gaping. The guardian rushed to her side, looking deep into her eyes. "This is not over. You must choose your next step wisely." Esther gulped, a sense of dread pooling in her stomach. "What do I do?" "Only you can decide," the guardian said, fatality etched in her voice. "The keeper will come again," and this time the skies darkened as the keeper reached from the shadows one last time, a furious storm of shadows gathering. "Come back to me, little light. You cannot escape your fate." The chasm yawned wide, ready to swallow her whole. Heart racing, she had to act. Esther locked eyes with the woman. "What if I dive in?" The guardian's expression faltered, fear twisted into grim resolve. "If you choose the dark, you may lose everything. But, it may be the only way to save others." Threads of light flickered in her chest, and with the keeper's shadowy hands creeping closer, fate hung in the balance. Esther knew one thing for sure, her choice would alter everything. But was she prepared for the depths she might have to confront? With a final glance toward the horizon, she took a breath, and leapt into the void. The air was cold and thick as she plummeted, spiraling into an abyss that swallowed sound and light. Esther's heart raced, each beat echoing her fears. Deep, treacherous shadows loomed below, grasping and gnashing like hungry jaws. Had she made a grave mistake? With every inch she fell, doubts clawed at her, whispering that she had sealed her fate. How deep does this darkness go? She landed with a jolt, momentum knocking the breath from her lungs. Esther rolled, instinct prompting her to spring back to her feet. Sand and fine earth clung to her skin, contrast to the brilliant light that had enveloped her moments before. A faint glimmer danced in the distance, a mere flicker fighting against an oppressive darkness that surrounded her. Heart pounding, she tasted the bitterness of fear on her tongue. What now? She muttered, realizing the keeper might not be far. It was then that she noticed the shadows shifting, murmurs wrapping around her like chains. The feeling was familiar, the weight of unspoken regrets and buried pain. "Welcome to my domain," a smooth voice purred, echoing through the thick air. "This is where secrets come to die." The keeper materialized from the swirling darkness, a figure more monstrous than she remembered. His features twisted, grotesque yet captivating, as if he were a master illusionist. "You jumped willingly into a world of torment." Esther squared her shoulders, determination settling in her chest. "I came to confront you. To stop this." "Oh, brave girl," he mocked, shadows dancing around him as if they were alive. "Games of light and dark cannot be won with mere will. This void feeds on weakness, and I know your weaknesses all too well." Rifts of memories surged through her mind. Faces from her past began to materialize within the darkness: her father's disappointment, her lover's tear-streaked farewell, the friends who gave up on her. Each image flashed like lightning, each one a whisper of her failures. "No. They don't own me," she shouted, forcing her voice above the cacophony of self-doubt. "I'm so much more than my past." His laughter intensified, a shrill sound that echoed like thunder. "You truly believe that?" His shadowy hands traced the air, crafting illusions that surrounded her, tangible manifestations of her regret. "Look. They can't be erased. They are part of you, just as darkness shapes me." The shadows loomed closer, creeping around her like fingers intent on squeezing the life out of her. Panic surged, and Esther fought back, her own light flickering within her. "You will not control my memories," she declared, embracing her power. She willed the light forward. It responded, bursting from her hands and illuminating the darkness. The shadows shrieked, retreating for a brief moment against the fierce radiance. "Fool!" the keeper yelled, fury igniting in his eyes. "Light without awareness is useless. For every memory you free, I can take another. Your pain fuels my power." Esther's mind raced. He was right. With every illumination, she brought forth another memory of loss. The cycle would never end. She closed her eyes, focusing. Visualizing each loved one as a thread, slowly weaving them into the fabric of herself. "They are my armor," she whispered, feeling strength rush through her as the shadows parried, anticipating her failure. "Show me your worst," she challenged, voice fierce. Heart aflame. A maelstrom of darkness surged forward, but this time Esther stood firm, choosing acceptance over fear. Bit by bit, she transformed sorrow into strength, refusing to be another lost soul in the keeper's grasp. The energies clashed violently, and for every dark entity he conjured, she mirrored his creation with her own light. But as the battle raged on, she sensed a shift in the air, a flicker of desperation intertwined with fury. What if he is hiding something even darker? The thought paralyzed her momentarily. Was there a deeper secret at play, one that could be the key to breaking free from this fight? In that instant, the ground trembled once more. The keeper's face twisted in rage. "You will regret this. Folly soon enough, my light." With a piercing scream, shadows spiraled, threatening to consume everything. Esther clenched her fists, adrenaline surging anew. She strained against the weight of her past, digging deeper within herself. Could she truly change the outcome of this confrontation? Or was she simply dancing toward her doom? The darkness surged, a tidal wave of storms and whispers. And as the shadows surged with terrifying force, she felt the urgency pulse inside her, demanding she choose her path even if it meant plunging deeper into obscurity. What lay beyond the Keeper's reach? Was it darkness or an undiscovered strength waiting to be unleashed? The shadows surged like a living creature, suffocating Esther's resolve as they roared and writhed at her feet. She could almost feel them drinking in her fear, relishing each flicker of doubt that sparked within her. Their grotesque forms twisted and pressed against her, as if beckoning her to surrender to despair. But Esther clung tightly to the light blooming inside her, determined to resist. Fight, she screamed to herself, not daring to glance back. With every ounce of willpower she had left, she conjured memories, warm embraces, laughter shared, promises made and kept. That potent light erupted from her heart again, illuminating the shadows with fierce intensity. Suddenly, a sharp pain struck through her chest. It radiated from a memory she had buried the night she lost her younger brother. His face flashed before her, eyes wide with unspoken questions, an eternity of hurt flashing between them. "You left me," the illusion whispered, its voice eerily familiar. "No." She gasped, clutching at her heart. "You're not real." But the piercing gaze of her brother held her captive. The Keeper's laughter echoed in her mind. "See? You still carry it. That guilt will always haunt you. It won't define me." Esther shouted back, feeling the shadows close in on her, thick and suffocating. "I will not be a prisoner of my past any longer." The ground beneath her shook violently. From the depths of the pit, ominous growls reverberated, dark tendrils reaching out to ensnare her limbs. She could feel them gripping her ankles, pulling her under, dragging her deeper into their malevolent embrace. Panic rose like bile in her throat. Flashes of her worst fears gripped her of being alone, lost, and morphed into a darkness that consumed everything she loved. Then, amidst the chaos, she saw it, a sliver of soft light beyond the Keeper's disdainful visage, shimmering like a beacon. Memories of her brother morphed, shifting from regret to pride. She remembered him laughing, the way his eyes sparkled when he believed in her. "Let go of the pain," she whispered, allowing tears to flow. "You are my strength." In that moment, a fierce warmth enveloped her, amplifying her light until it burst forth in a radiant wave. Shadows screamed and hissed, the Keeper's laughter turning into a chorus of fury. "You think this changes anything?" he spat. "You're just delaying the inevitable." Esther stepped forward, fueled by newfound determination. "No. I'm rewriting my story." The light roared in response, pushing back the shadows, and Esther screamed with it, her voice echoing like thunder in the hollow darkness. But just as she felt the tide turning, something unexpected happened. The Keeper's figure flickered, revealing a fleeting glimpse of a desperate vulnerability beneath the mask. She could sense a hidden fear in him. Was it doubt or something far worse? "Face this, Keeper. Show me the monster you truly are." He faltered, his gaze wavering momentarily as a ghost of uncertainty crossed his features. "You think you know fear?" Darkness rippled around him, trying to regain control as he conjured horrifying shapes, grotesque faces of his own struggles. Each one a reflection of battles he fought and lost, moments he tried to forget. Esther felt her resolve deepen. Could she reach him? Could light break through even the darkest corners of someone so lost? The air crackled with tension as once more, they faced each other, light against dark, ideologies clashing. But just as Esther considered her pathway forward, the instability grew. The ground gave a terrifying lurch, and the shadows twisted violently, threatening not just to consume her but to swallow the very essence of the Keeper. "Sacrifice one to save the other," he hissed. "Who will you choose?" Esther's heart raced as the weight of the choice crashed over her. What would it take to escape this realm? Would she save herself or dare to save the fallen Keeper? The clash of light and dark swirled around, electrifying the air with suspense as Esther stood at the crossroads of fate, knowing one decision could change everything. What lay beyond? The answer remained hidden in the chaos. And all she could do was brace herself for the inevitable. Esther's breath came in ragged gasps as the shadows swirled around her, angry whispers striking at the edges of her resolve. Each tendril of darkness clung to regret, twisting memories into scarring nightmares. Yet beneath the chaos, flickers of her own light surged into her consciousness like a mantra: love, laughter, hope, strength. Your past won't own me. She shouted defiantly, pushing against the tidal wave of shadows threatening to envelop her. I refuse to be a prisoner of my own anguish any longer. With every ounce of strength left, she grasped hold of the brightest memories: her brother's laughter, her parents' kindness, the way her friends rallied around her during the hardest times. Each recollection ignited a flare in her spirit, illuminating the depths of despair threatening to drown her. The keeper howled in anger, shadows swirling, forming monstrous shapes that echoed her every fear. Foolish girl! You can't face the darkness alone. But Esther stood resolute. It's not alone. I carry their light with me. In that moment, something shifted in the air. The keeper faltered, confusion and frustration painted across his monstrous visage. Esther took a bold step forward, fearlessly meeting his gaze. What is it you truly fear? Darkness coiled around him, trembling, as if he were losing grip on everything he had tried to maintain. To be without power. His voice thundered, but the tremor behind it told a deeper truth. Power derived from fear isn't strength, it's a prison, she replied boldly, sensing the ground beneath them quake. Let go. It's time to break free. The weight of her words threaded through the shadows, causing them to flicker and shrink. The keeper's form wavered, and for a moment, the monstrous facade slipped, revealing a creature lost in its own torment. You think I want this? He snarled, shadows convulsing like a wild storm. You think I enjoy being a monster? I don't know what you want, but I see your fear. Esther reached out her hand, compassion breaking through as raw, unyielding light poured from her core. The energy rippled through the air, shimmering and pulsating with an intensity forged from empathy. I refuse to abandon you to the dark. We can rewrite our stories, Keeper. A thick silence fell, the air vibrating with tension. The shadows hissed as if responding to her words. The Keeper's anger morphed into confusion and desperation. No one has ever tried to save me from this. Then let me be the first. Esther shouted, not faltering, her voice like a beacon cutting through the whirlwind of doubt. With every ounce of her being, she channeled the light, sending it forth like a wave crashing against walls of despair. The shadows recoiled, thrashing against the purity of her intent. In that climactic moment, where darkness met the relentless illumination, everything began to change. Figures emerged out of the shadows, lost souls tangled within the darkness. Let us go. They cried, emerging from despair, shadows trying desperately to snatch their light back. No. The keeper roared, but now there was fear lacing his voice. You cannot take them. They belong to me. They belong to no one, Esther declared, her voice rising, echoes of her strength rolling like thunder. We're bound by choice, by love. As light converged in a blinding flash, the keeper's twisted form shrank, shadows retreating with anguished howls. What have you done? He cried, panic drenching his words as he diminished before her very eyes. I've chosen not to let the darkness define me, she replied, her heart racing, but vibrant with hope. Now you can too. With each moment, shapes of memories healed, light enveloping all once lost. The keeper trembled, shadows creeping away like fading smoke. If you free us, what will become of me? Join us, she whispered, her heart swelling with compassion. Or let the light show you the way. We can face it together. And just like that, the shadows unraveled, surrendering as the keeper hesitated. An overwhelming wave of understanding surged through him, washing away fear, releasing the shackles of power. A brilliant explosion of light erupted, engulfing the dark realm. And in the very center, Esther felt the keeper's sorrow fade as a new form emerged from the ruins, gentle, kind, and no longer monstrous. When the storm settled, the shadows scattered, revealing the dawn breaking over the horizon. A soft glow cupped Esther's face as she took a deep breath, relief pouring through her. The keeper, transformed, stood beside her, a new guardian among the light. "Thank you, Esther," he said, voice gentle, no longer laced with malice, "for seeing what was hidden beneath the darkness." Esther offered a serene smile, heart light as feathers. "We all deserve a second chance. An opportunity to heal." Together, they turned toward the bright new morning. Shadows behind them had lost their power, and for all the lost souls, now free, the path forward lay aglow with hope. Esther had stepped into the dark, faced the keeper, and emerged victorious not just for herself, but for all who dared walk with light. At the edge of the meadow, the whispers of the past faded away, leaving behind a promise of tomorrow. The sun rose higher, a symbol of resilience, illuminating the path ahead. And then Esther understood, darkness had the power to teach, not to chain. Hand in hand with the keeper, she stepped forward into the brightness of a new beginning. This was not the end, simply a new dawn. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep this vibrant community alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this breathtaking conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who crave epic tales like these. Your support makes all the difference. Show it proudly, and join this heartwarming journey.